Okay, I think I'm recording now. I'm going to share my screen. Do. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up. We got here. All right, so this is the student view here. Um, if we go over to the assignments, I'm going to go ahead and kind of break it down here. I do want to first off actually go to modules real quick and just remind everybody that this is where the examples for the assignments are. Just, the first module here, I added this in. This is where the recordings will be. I'm going to put this recording here. And then the examples for the assignments. So I don't have an example yet for the final paper, the part 3 of the assignment, but I'll post that and let you all know as soon as I get that from Dr. Perry. So we already did the quiz, which thank you all so much for that. There were no issues there. The part 2 is another thing. This is what we're going to be going over today. And then, like I said, we can touch on the paper. As far as the examples go, the biggest thing with this part of the assignment, the part 2, is the 12-minute recording session. So you and your practice partner or somebody else that agrees to do this, if they're an MSU student, great. You don't need to worry about getting an additional consent form signed. But if they are somebody who's outside of that realm, there is a consent form that you need to have them sign and turn in with this assignment. The biggest portion of this is that every student needs to do their 12-minute recording where they are like they're the therapist and they've got a client. So again, that could be your practice partner or somebody else, just not like a family member or like friend or close friend rather. So that's the big thing. I do recommend that you practice the recording ahead of time, just the recording part. So meet with your practice partner or whoever your client is going to be in the 12-minute video. And then maybe just talk with them a little bit while you're recording, and then go ahead and end the session so that you can see where it shows up on your computer, and also to make sure that the audio and video are working for both sides, because sometimes you can't really hear if there's something, wonky, if somebody's using like headphones or something. And we just need to be able to see and hear both of you throughout the video. So definitely recommend testing those ahead of time. I know that this is not due until November 10th, but I do also recommend that you get that 12-minute recorded session in and done like by not waiting till the last minute, more so just in case there are technical issues, because you never know when your internet's going to go out or, power or what have you. So definitely recommend, getting that done sooner rather than later. The other piece of that, so you're going to review your own recorded session, which I I want to be clear that like nobody is good at this. Like, and nobody likes watching themselves on video. It's just icky. It's like, blah. You could be really, really, really good at this. I mean, like Dr. Perry has been doing this for a while and is super, super talented as like a therapist. And I mean, you can watch the 13.5 minute example video that Dr. Perry and I recorded. Like they even say that they are very uncomfortable, and having to watch themselves, to do this recorded session template. Um, it's uncomfortable, and I've been telling folks in our one-on-ones that like if you hit all of the marks in this template in 12 minutes, then that's actually a bad thing. It's almost kind of like we're setting you up to fail on purpose just to get used to the idea of the fact that you're not supposed to hit all the marks. Um, you're going to get full points for doing this as long as you do it, and have all the pieces in place. Um, so yeah, you record your 12-minute session, and then you review it yourself and you complete your template. This is, so like I said here, this is Dr. Perry's video with me, and then their recorded session template. So they wrote notes on how they, reviewed themselves. And then this is a blank skills demonstration template. So definitely where you need to start. When I was doing this a couple years ago, I actually created a script for myself so that I at least had the mandated reporter stuff like written out. And then just kind of a framework in case I felt lost as far as, I actually set a timer, and I used the insight timer actually that I did for the first lecture. I know y'all couldn't hear the bell, but there's a way to do it so you can like, make it not like a screeching alarm. Um, and some people do actually use alarms like, or, kind of timers in session together. I do feel like I'm rambling a lot, so bear with me. I know this is just a lot of information. Um, but again, part one, 12-minute session. Part two, you review it yourself and you do your template. So I'll open this real quick just to give you a sense of things. So, this is Dr. Perry, and you don't have to do this first part here. It says it right here, but this is just Perry's like, breakdown of what needs to happen and kind of in what order. Um, so you collect contextual information, and this can be before the 12-minute recording session. You do a brief summary of the session and what you were experiencing before, during, and after the session. Um, so you can read what they said there. They do have a skills checklist here. You can say whether it's well demonstrated, somewhat demonstrated, or not demonstrated. Like I said, nobody is going to hit all of these in 12 minutes. I would be worried if you did. That would be a bad thing. This is more just like, how can I, you know, um, observe myself in a way that like, what are the things that I would want to work on having observed myself? And we tend to be way more critical of ourselves than others. So that's also why we throw the peer review in there as well. And I'll also be giving feedback too. Um, so nonverbal communication, this is the skills checklist, opening the session, um, active listening and information gathering. And then we've also got closing the session, and then, areas of focus to ensure presence and reflection. So the other piece of this recorded session template, apart from just kind of going point by point and just reviewing yourself in your video, where you're the therapist, not the client. Um, just trying to say that very clearly. You also include your words that you spoke in the video. So you're going to transcribe those, or you can use um, like a like a transcription service. I think I have those written down, like some examples of ones that you can use, but you're only going to include your words and the reason or thought process you had like before, um, or like why you were implementing, what you were thinking in that moment of like, oh, I was just curious about this or wondering more about that kind of thing. Um, it's okay. You don't have to have like answers for these necessarily. But again, it's just to get you kind of analyzing based on the work that we've done in class and the materials we're learning from, just kind of like what, what the purpose is in our communication, because theoretically the client should be talking a lot more than us. Um, so yeah, and at the end of this example here, we've got Dr. Perry's upload checklist. So you want to do a UJA link for the recorded session, that 12-minute. It's ideally between 10 to 15 minutes total. The completed contextual information, skills checklist, and process recording template. So that's your version of this document here. A signed consent form if they're a non-MSU student, and then just make sure that all of your file names are descriptive so that I know what I'm looking at. Cool. So there's that piece. Again, I know this is like a lot of information and it feels super overwhelming. Um, the main thing is the recording, um, and then reviewing it yourself. Like that's all that you're going to be uploading on November 10th, right? The recorded session template and the, 10 to 15-minute video where you are the therapist and the other person is the client. The only caveat to that additional piece is if you're doing the like somebody who's not MSU student, you're going to want to include your consent form as well. And then just make sure you label them so that I know, what student this is for, like who you are, and what part of the assignment it is. Um, cool. So I know part of this is also working with your peer review small groups. Um, so let me kind of dive into that portion a little bit because I know that can be confusing for folks. Um, so I'm going to, friendly reminder, individual meetings are due October 20th. If you don't see anything available on my Calendly, I can add more times. We can connect. Just email me or text me and let me know if you've got some times available before the 20th, and we can go ahead and get that updated and get that on the calendar. But yeah, so let's see here. Skills demonstration, recorded session. Okay, so this page I know can be very overwhelming. It looks like a lot. I also dumped the example of the video link here. So this is the one, the same video in the other page there. So yeah, you've already found your partner to interview. Your partner's the client. Again, if you have a person who's not an MSU Denver student, make sure you get the consent form. So I went ahead and assigned you peer groups, so you don't need to be worried about establishing a peer group. Essentially, let's see here. You can kind of figure out how you want to do this. Like there's no like right or wrong way necessarily to do the peer feedback sessions. You can get your video links to everybody. So essentially you're in a group. We can even go to the groups specifically. Sorry, here's my cat. Yes, hello, Neshima. Do you have any feedback for the students? Yeah? Well, tell them. Tell them all about it. Okay, here. Peer group assignments. All right, so like for is trying to eat food. That is not for her. So like our first peer group here. So you've got four students, which means you will be reviewing three of your peers' videos. So you'll watch three of these videos, like 10 to 12, 15-minute videos, and then you'll be providing feedback for three, and then you'll be receiving feedback from three of your peers. Yes, no, thank you. Thank you, no. And then if you're in a group of three, then you just are going to be watching two videos and then getting feedback from two of your peers. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. But we go back to assignments. And I'm logged into the student view here. So the way I see things on the back end looks a little different. That's why I've got this pink border here. If we go back in here. So how I would recommend doing it, again, you can meet up and like have like a 90-minute session with all four of you if you're free to do like a synchronous Zoom kind of like this, where each of you like you'll present the video to your peers and then do the feedback session. But if you want to give people the videos ahead of time, you can totally do that. And then maybe just meet up for like half an hour or so, depending on what everybody's availability is. I know y'all have lives and work and families and other obligations. So however you make it work, even if you have to watch a video and then meet up for 15 minutes and then watch another video and meet up for 15 minutes, it's just that everybody's got to participate. So I recommend downloading like one of the recorded session templates for each video that you're going to review. And then what you'll do is you'll just take notes as you go. The peer review session, I've kind of created some structure around that. So it's not just like, oh, we all did a great job, or, oh, here's some feedback that you didn't want and now everybody feels bad. Um, it's meant to be like a positive thing. Um, and then I'll also give feedback when I'm, reviewing the videos as well. So you've already been practicing all this stuff. It's more so just like, I know nobody likes recording themselves. Like even me doing my lectures, like I do not like rewatching them. Like, nope, no thank you. Um, and I've got a theater degree, so, you know, let's see here. So again, this is this part of it here. Selecting a time to meet, you can break up the time in shorter segments. Just make sure that if you do take some time to like have everybody review the videos on their own and then come together, just make sure you're taking notes so that you're able to provide feedback that's like relevant and still top of mind. So don't watch the videos and then wait a week and then meet, try to do it pretty close to the time that you meet so that it's fresh. Um, do, do, do. Cool. And this is just like giving you additional steps here, but um, you record your session. Let's see here. And yeah, definitely make sure you press the record button. I usually have like a post-it note right next to me that says record when I'm like doing one of these, for example. Um, so after you're done recording your video, you upload it to Yuja. Yuja is right here in your student template. It's fairly simple. There's also just like options here to give you like the directions of how to do that. And then this is how you share the Yuja clips with your classmates. Worst case scenario, at least to get it to your peers, you can always upload it as an unlisted link to YouTube. And then for me, I'm going to need the Yuja video. So let me know if you have technical difficulties. Um, and then, yeah, the other piece, like I said too, is within the template. Like the last part of the template is that you transcribe your words. So the things that you said in the video, and then on the other side of the column, just, kind of the thinking or the intention behind the words that you spoke. When you do meet with your peer groups, just remember that this is basically, this is like a supervisor session kind of. All the information that's shared is confidential, so please don't, talk about people's stuff with other students or anything. I did create this. I actually revised it when I was revisiting the assignment. I just rewrote it a little bit more because I'd initially written it for our what was it? I think it was for whatever the oh gosh, research methods, whatever that was renamed to. I had written it for that initially, but essentially you don't have to do it this way, but I wrote this when I was a student because I noticed that peer feedback can be really gross and just not super helpful. So I wrote an updated version of this where it's basically just like I adapted it from Liz Lerman's critical response process, which I learned about in my arts degree. But it's like a 4-step process. So the first thing is that whoever's receiving the feedback, so whoever's the therapist, um, their peers just give specific like things that they noticed in the video, things that are generally positive, like and then the second step is the peer receiving the critique asks questions of their peers. So like for example, if you have something that you've been working on with your practice partner, like silence, or hey, my intro still feels wonky or inauthentic, or I feel like I don't know what I'm doing in this part. You can ask your peers those specific questions. And I ask you to maybe try to think of one or two to ask your peers when you're doing this critical feedback, because it's something that we need to know how to do. And it's helpful when your peers have something specific to answer, then it doesn't just get into, either very like surface level stuff or super deep stuff that could be, harmful. Um, Neutral questions. So that's the third step of this process. Basically, the peers who are critiquing the recorded session are free to ask neutral questions about what they saw in the video. So like, um, you know, where where did you learn how to implement this question? Or um, you know uh, was this type of question influenced by any modality that we're talking about? Like, is this motivational interviewing? Or how did you think to ask this type of question? So these are like, these are not the types of questions like, why do you suck? Like, no. This is very specific of like, why did you choose this wording, or that kind of thing. And then lastly, we talk about opinions, right? So this is something that it's like you can offer this up as like a question, and the person who's receiving the critique can say yes or no to receiving the feedback. So essentially, you frame the initial question like, can I offer an observation about the wording in your introduction? Or may I give you an observation that I made about the fact that you're wearing glasses throughout your video, and the person can say yes or no. um and that way it feels more like a consensual process, and like there's more of an equal footing, as opposed to just kind of like we're all just a little bit lost and don't know what to say. um so it actually takes a lot longer to talk you through what this process is than to do it, or it can. Um, so just remember, review this before you meet with your peers in your peer group, and just if you have questions, let me know. You can adapt it to whatever feels natural for the group. Just try to give it some structure and try to be curious. And we're all learning this whole time. I'm still learning. And so, just from that perspective of like, I want all of you to be successful, and I imagine you want your peers to be successful too. So there are always things like I say all the time. I remember when I reviewed my video, I just counted how many ums I said, and I still say a bunch of ums because again, recording is not natural. Um, but that doesn't mean that I'm bad at this, right? Just because we all have stuff we're working on doesn't mean that there isn't good stuff that's happening too, and that even the most skilled of us are going to have stuff we want to work on, you know? Um, cool. So again, here's all your examples um, from Dr. Perry, as far as the completed templates, and then this is just again your reminder to share your materials to Canvas here. Um, Carla, any questions so far? I know you're the only one on here, so don't mean to call you out on the recording, but wanted to give you an option to see if that's clear enough.
No, it is really clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that. Um, and you can do the peer feedback session after November 10th, but part of the reason you're doing the peer feedback is that you are going to incorporate that feedback and just kind of how that sat with you and what that process was like for you in the last part of this paper, this assignment, which is the evaluating your efforts paper. So, um, I'll briefly touch on this, and I can get more in depth at the next uh, recorded session. But you're gonna basically go through 4 parts in this paper, and it's a pretty brief paper. I'm like not going to be super into like APA and all that. I want you to like really be able to kind of have the space to process what this whole semester, but also what this process was like with the recording, and receiving and giving critical feedback. So uh, you're basically going to evaluate your session in four steps. So the process recording itself, um, tools and measures, like any tools and measures you used, the group feedback session, and then just critical reflection of yourself and the evaluation process. So, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, really quick. By tools and measures, can you share an example?
Yeah, so that would be like, for example, I know we used the oh goodness, the like the PHQ, like the PHQ-9 or the GAD-7. That was actually one of the pieces that we did for I think it was solo reflection. It might have been in the practice partners. This is something that um you can either like implement with your partner, or again you can use the one that you used in class for yourself. Like, just we want you to get familiar with utilizing tools as part of the process. um, and again, this isn't like an ideal situation because like, in 12 minutes, you're not going to do a PHQ-9. Usually that's like something that like doctors will hand out at the beginning of a physical, a yearly physical. You can also send those out as like part of a packet of like an intake packet, or, those kinds of things. But um, if you, like, for example, if your practice partner is the person, you can you can send out one of these like measuring tools, like the surveys or the scales, the ones that I had given examples of, or anyone that you're kind of curious about. Um, and then you can go ahead and like have them, send it back to you. This is more so just, again, it's not like I necessarily expect you to, like upload it, but just what is it like using this type of tool? And why is it helpful or not? Right. So it's kind of like what you already did, but like in a way of this, like the context of this recording, or this type of thing. How would you use it? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Okay. Um, we don't want you just to like try the things that we talked about, like the just the motivational interviewing and all that. It's like, you're starting to put together your toolbox of like different things that you can utilize when you're working with individuals and groups, and even organizations. And so this is another one of those tools that you can, you know, kind of whip out whenever you need, especially if you're going into, something like individual therapy, like where I'm at now currently. Um, I'll do like a PHQ-9 if somebody's got an active diagnosis of depression, so that I can do it again in 3 months or 6 months. And then we can justify to the insurance companies that we've, increased symptoms, or decreased symptoms, increased, the person's capacity to live their day-to-day life in the way they want to. So it can be a useful kind of justification for your interventions, or even um, like a reflective use of whether or not the interventions you're using are effective or not. Um, and obviously, it's not just for insurance companies, but like that's kind of the best example I can come up with off the cuff. In hospice, we would use the just the pain scale. Even the pain scale, can be very useful. They teach you in hospice that no matter who you are walking into that room, even if you're the chaplain, if you're the social worker, one of the questions you always have to ask is, are you in any pain? And if so, what's your pain level? 0 to 10, 0 being the lowest, 10 being the worst pain ever. Because one of the biggest goals of hospice is, pain management. So yeah, does that help? Does that kind of help clarify a little bit more?
Yes, thank you so much.
Groovy. Um, and then, yep. So again, this is your peer feedback process. I want to look at that. Just make sure. Okay, cool. So this is just, the group feedback session. There are kind of like a few questions that you're going to reflect on. There's like these 5 questions. So this is what you're going to be reflecting on. for this portion. Um, let's see here. I believe the paper itself is only apparently 2 to 3 pages. That feels a little low to me. So just know that if you need to go beyond that, not that I'm expecting you to, but just like it's a lot of information to kind of get into um, in this like these 4 parts here. And like I said, Dr. Perry is going to be sharing an example um, from from the video where I was the client. So you'll see like, kind of point by point how these three like the recorded session leads into the skills demonstration of the checklist and then also into the final paper. We just don't have that yet from them. So, um, yeah, you can do a 2 to 3 page written paper or a 5 to 7 minute structured recorded response. Like if you would prefer to do something different, let me know. Um, I like creativity. If you're looking for an excuse to do like any creative thing, and you have an idea, I'm open to that. You don't have to. I know that could be added stress, but if you do better like talking, you can just, have an outline and then record 5 to 7 minutes of going through all this for your final paper project. But yeah, it does look like the full paper is supposed to be only like 2 to 3 pages, which there's a lot of information in here that, yeah, if you go a little over, I'm not going to be mad. But yeah, any questions about that, Carla?
Nope. Thank you.
Asking for your whole class here, Carla. No, no pressure. Cool. And I think the rubric here doesn't quite make sense, so I'm going to reach out to Dr. Perry. Like, what? So just know that again, as long as you like, as long as you are submitting things, like I'm not this isn't about getting it right. This isn't about being perfect at this. This isn't about anything. It's literally about putting forth the effort. So as long as you demonstrate that you're putting forth the effort, like you're going to be fine. You're going to be totally fine. Um, let's see here. I'm going to, just while I've got everybody here, I am going to try to, as we get into weeks, not this week, but for week 8. I did do an ethics corner. So I'm sorry, this is going to be the last week here, week 7, uh, with a small group discussion. Um, and then week 9, it's cool. We've got ethics corner again, and then there is a small group discussion that week, but it is with your assigned peer groups. So hopefully by then you're talking about getting into your peer groups too. Um, I know that was confusing, so I apologize to everybody. But yeah, the small group discussions are those are the weekly discussions, and then um, yeah, you've got your peer groups, which that's different except for week 9 because I thought I was being clever. And if that's more confusing, let me know.
Thank you. I guess one last thing I did think of, you
Mhm.
did say that we have to upload through Yuja.
Yeah.
Um, I was planning on doing my project in person with my partner. And I mean, for other classes, we've been able to just record and submit on the file drop. I don't know if that's okay or if you just kind of want us to stick to the Yuja as like a general.
Um, that Yuja is kind of how I'm aware of how to do it. So if you do something different, let's connect. Because then yeah. I just want to be able to see both of you as far as like your faces and maybe a little bit of body language just to make sure. Um, it's more so important that stuff is focused on you. Because I'm kind of more worried about reading you in the moment, but being able to read both of you in the moment too can also help me show examples of body language and stuff too if there's stuff I'm seeing. Um, but yeah, if you end up submitting it somewhere else, just let me know and we can try to find it together. Um, yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And I do recommend keeping it between 10 to 15 minutes. If you go like super beyond that, please try either redoing it or like maybe seeing if there's anything you can like kind of cut out of it. Not like I'm expecting y'all to edit. It's just that keeping it short for your peers, and then also I've got 17, 18 of these that I'm going to be watching too. And I just want to be able to give everybody good feedback. So, yeah, it's appreciated. Um, I also want to give you a heads up that week 10, we don't have any class. So you don't have any readings week 10. So that is the week of, let's see here. Oh, the week of the 20th. So that week you can work on getting these recordings done. You can work on meeting up with your peer groups. You can work on, doing your self-evaluation through the skills and getting that all uploaded because I know that'll be due November 10th. So you've got a couple weeks there with that. But yeah, I'm still working on week 11, 12, 13, and 14 and 15. So be aware that I'm getting there. I appreciate your patience. Um, but yeah, I'm going to try to do an ethics corner for each week on top of the lecture so that, you know, you've got those pieces moving forward and we have less of the small group discussions, like the group posts. Because I know it seems like those seem to be a little less helpful for folks. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing for now. Um, anything else you can think of while I got you, Kara?
Nope, everything was great. Thank you.
Cool. Sorry, I'm a little rambly today. I don't know what's up, but we're just going with it. So I will say I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording and have a good night.